Coach? How are you? Good. You don't have to be in here for the players if you don't want to.
Even better.
Yeah.
Switch it up on them.
Yeah. We'll bring you in. We'll bring you in when they're done.
I'll just sit right here, spot warmer right there.
Okay. Okay, we are going to get started with our student-athlete portion of this press conference, and we'll open it up for questions.
Matt Krause, Tar Heel Sports Network. Eva, the Arizona players were talking about how the different ball impacted their shooting last night. Did you feel that the different ball impacted shooting at all?
Personally, no. I think we had time on what day did we play? What was yesterday? Saturday. So we had time on Friday and Saturday to get enough touches with the ball to feel more comfortable with it. And I think that's just something as you get more, like even today and tomorrow we'll have more touches. And so I didn't feel it affected our game at all, but it also depends on the team.
Back row.
Hey, Shelby Swanson, Daily Tar Heels. So after you guys won your game yesterday, you went and you checked out that Arizona UNLV game. What were some things that jumped out to you just watching it from the stands?
Yeah, I think just watching, you saw the physicality that both teams brought, especially with Arizona and their two low posts, which we can expect for tomorrow's game as well. So that was helpful to get some eyes on.
Yeah, and I think building off that too, even just the way they pressed as well. We haven't always seen presses this season, and so just being prepared for that and being able to play up tempo to break the press, but then slow the tempo down when we want to get the shots that we can.
Back row.
Yeah, going off that concept of pressing, Arizona likes to pressure. They like to trap. Stephen F. Austin does as well. What are the similarities? What are the differences? Liz, you can go first.
I think some similarities will just be their ball pressure, picking up full court and some things. It was very helpful to play SFA, a team that did some full court pressure in preparation for this game against Arizona, because we were able to see that, we need somebody flashing to the ball. We need to be smart using pass fakes and attacking hips. So all those things we were able to learn, and today we went over them in preparation for Arizona's press.
Yeah, to build off that, to echo everything she just said, and then we also can fine-tune it a little bit to more specific press, but it allowed us to kind of shake off the rust from not having played in 2 weeks and to play against a press that we haven't seen before, and tomorrow we'll just reattack with that in mind.
Front row.
Kim Doss, Arizona Desert Swarm. Arizona was out-rebounded yesterday by UNLV, and you guys are a good rebounding team. What's important about rebounding to you, and what's kind of the philosophy? How do you think you get good at rebounding?
Getting good at rebounding is just a consistent will to go get the ball. It definitely takes a little bit of learned skill, which is boxing out and grabbing the ball with two hands. But it's really whichever team and whichever individual is willing to put themselves in a position where they're going to get bumped around constantly on both ends of the floor. And I think that's a skill that our team takes pride in. Therefore, we've out-rebounded a lot of teams as well in our season.
Front row.
Javier Morales, All Sports Tucson. You guys have played in some big crowds, but not one that's going to be like tomorrow. What's your mindset going into that? And you guys sat and saw what the crowd was like yesterday.
Yeah, I'm excited. Personally, I love to play in front of big crowds, especially at away gyms, because there isn't always necessarily an underlying theme of love. And so you just kind of get to interact with people. And it was fun to see it yesterday and to be able to walk through the crowd and even interact with people then. And they're great. They were friendly, they were fun, and they were congratulating us on moving on. And so personally, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to the crowd that Arizona and our team is going to bring tomorrow night. And a crowd similar that we've had to this size, I would say probably be playing at NC State. And that fan base is a little more aggressive towards some of the players, rightfully so, considering the rivalry. So, yeah, I'm also really looking forward to it, and I think our team's going to have a lot of fun playing in that crowd for sure.
Back row to the right.
So Pellington, the point guard for Arizona, just dropped 30 in last night's game, and she was pretty ruthless on the drive. What are you guys looking to do to contain her?
We're just going to stick to our defensive principles. And I think something that separates our players on the defensive end is our pride. We take a lot of pride in shutting players down, and I can't imagine a girl going off for 30 on us.
Yeah, and I think building off that too, we just take a lot of pride in playing together. And so with a player like that, it's not always on one person, it's on the whole team. And so understanding that she just had 30 and she's likely still pretty hot off of that, and so we can kind of be in our gaps better and just talk more and be more prepared for that.
Yeah, and one thing that Arizona just talked about in their press conference was the transition defense, and they really said that that was a key to their game against you guys tomorrow. Could you guys talk about how important that fast break is for you guys in your game?
Just going off of what we were talking about with the defensive side, that leads to our offense. And so we get a lot of runouts. We look to push up the floor. And a lot of teams have started to scout that. As I've been running up the floor, there's some girls that give me contact at the top of the key and the free throw line. And it's a great sign because I'm pulling in a guard, and that's going to open up the arc. So I'm excited that they're looking forward to their transition defense because that'll open up other opportunities for our shooting guards.
Next question. Front row.
Is there a team in the ACC that's similar to Arizona from what you've seen that you can compare and help you prepare?
I would probably say Georgia Tech. Just the similarities, I would say, are there two strong and tall low post players, as well as a facilitating guard and a shooter off ball. So I'd say those two are pretty similar, but definitely have to treat them a little differently based on their personnel and the style of play.
Back row, middle.
All right, so you said Georgia Tech. That didn't go so high. What do you need to adjust from that game to prepare for a team that plays similar to them?
I think we learned a ton from that game, and I think that there's a little bit of differences, too, between how Georgia Tech plays and just the press sense of it. And so now understanding how we can attack a little bit more and create more for each other, which I felt like we did a good job as the game went on last night. And so doing that, and then really what Liz said, just allowing our defense to spark our offense in that transition game, because I don't think we had too much of that against Georgia Tech, so that'll be key for tomorrow.
Back to the right.
All right. So this Arizona team, obviously, they made it to the national championship last year, and 11 players on their current roster have NCAA tournament experience. You guys are a younger team, and you've kind of talked about that a lot. But in your eyes, what is some experience that you all have from the season that has prepared you for this moment?
I think our most important experience has been every game throughout our season playing together, because at the end of the day, connectedness and putting your team's needs and sacrificing what you need to do for your team is what's gonna take you far. And I think our team's done a great job developing over the season, and we're ready to play any team.
Other questions? All right, we'll go to those attending virtually. We have a question from R.L. Bynum with the Tar Heel Tribune. R.L.?
Hey, Eva, I want to ask you about yesterday. You all went small for long stretches, and that was successful. In looking at the scout, do you think you're going to be able to do that against a bigger Arizona team, or how will the dynamic be different tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I think those adjustments come as the game goes on, but no matter what size players we put in, there's the heart that makes up for it. And Liz is not the biggest person on the court most of the time, but the way that she fights with some of the biggest players on the court just goes to show that we're not going to back down no matter what the size of the opponent is. And so I think we'll still be able to go small if we need to, because we have that much fight in us, but there's going to be moments where we have some bigger lineups in as well.
And can you talk about the guard matchup with Pellington and Yini? That's one of the more formidable guard matchups you've probably faced this season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just understanding kind of tendencies and personalities and personnel. So some of them aren't as comfortable shooting the three, and so it's understanding how we can play off them in certain situations and allow some help inside. But again, you kind of read it as it goes. Yesterday we played against number 22, who was hitting the three, and so you got to adjust as the game goes on, and that's something that we'll have to do tomorrow as well.
And then Alyssa, kind of a similar question. You ended up playing the five a lot yesterday, but the challenges will be greater tomorrow against a taller team. As you were talking about comparing it to the Georgia Tech game, can you talk about what you'll face tomorrow?
Yeah, so like we've talked about, there's two low post players for Arizona that are pretty physical and a lot bigger than myself. But along with the heart that Eva said, I think my speed makes up for a lot of it. So circling the posts, making entry really difficult, and I think I have more longevity throughout the game. So I take pride in my conditioning, and have worked really hard with that. So I know I can outlast any post player, and so I'm really excited for that matchup.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll also take a question from JB Ricks.
Hey there. This question is for either player. I appreciate you guys taking out this time. I'm just curious to know if there's any conversation or any motivation coming from the fact that if you guys win this game, you'll get at least one more game and, in front of basically a home crowd in Greensboro, and if that is adding to the motivation of you guys wanting to win this game tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's definitely added motivation. I mean, I think at this point, there's a lot of motivation for us to just keep going. We hadn't won an NCAA game in a while for North Carolina, and so that was motivation for the first. And then the second is beating a team that's ranked higher than us and getting to play in Greensboro. So I think the motivation just kind of keeps piling up, and we're hungry for it.
Okay, R.L. Bynum has a follow-up question. I guess that was a false alarm there.
Yeah, I didn't have another question. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
I said I did not have another
Did not,
question.
okay.
Sorry.
All right, well, thank you. Any other questions in the room before we dismiss our student athletes? Okay, you guys are done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
But you'll wait for me.
We will.
Okay, I'll see you soon. Hi, guys.
Coach, you want to give us an opening comment, and we'll take some questions.
Sure, we're so glad to be here. There's 358 Division I basketball teams, and only 32 are still playing. So we're thrilled to be one of those 32. And it was a little bit of a battle against a very, very good SFA team, and fun to be back doing what we like to do, which is playing hoops and winning in March. So.
Questions up front?
Kim Doss, Arizona Desert Swarm. You talked about that challenge against SFA, and Arizona also struggled against UNLV. What does that tell you about March, and maybe what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah, just so many good teams. Women's basketball is in a really good spot. I've been in this game a long time, and seeing the health of it is really inspiring, right? It means your time is worth it. And so, when you have whether they're with Belmont upsetting Oregon, I don't think there are people in Belmont who thought that was an upset, right? The people that are in suits making seeds are one vantage point, but these coaches know a lot about these teams, and the game is just really healthy. And so you're going to have two really good teams that are playing for a Sweet 16 tomorrow night in Arizona and North Carolina, and it'll be a treat. It'll be a treat for a community that's really fallen in love with women's basketball here, and we're honored to be a part of that.
Front row.
Javier Morales, All Sports Tucson. Coach, from a coach's perspective, how do you prepare your team for playing in McHale tomorrow because of the expected maybe sellout and so forth?
Yeah, the crowd. Again, when you put this much time into something, you want it to matter, right? And when we walk out on that floor to start our warm up, and when I come out to meet my team, it'll be very clear that this matters, right? Like, what else could you ask for? I'm coaching basketball for a living, right? That's gratitude on gratitude, and then you're doing it in front of people that care, right? So I think the crowd size, it definitely creates an advantage for Arizona, right? Because they're their positives feel more positive, and our positives don't feel as positive if you allow the noise to be a part of it. We've played in front of the ACC is really prideful as well. So we've played in front of great environments. It's kind of known for basketball. And so even, playing at Carmichael, it's loud, even though they're rooting for you, they're still messing with our play calls. I can't hear them. My guys can't hear me. So it's just a testament to this community and how they've rallied around women's basketball and what Adia's done to gravitate the fans back here. It's, as a basketball coach, it's gratifying.
Back row.
All right, Shelby Swanson, Daily Tar Heel. So your players just talked about sort of the experience of playing at NC State as preparation for this big and loud game that they're expecting tomorrow in McHale. Obviously, NC State has a little bit of a smaller gym than McHale, but how do you think that experience has prepared you all for this atmosphere that you're anticipating tomorrow?
Yeah, it's a lot of people that are disrupting your signal calling and things like that, right? But it also creates an environment. Right, and so if I had a choice between a gym full of fans that are not rooting for me and an empty gym, I would choose the gym full of fans that aren't rooting for me, right? It creates an environment, a buzz, an energy. And again, it's a constant reminder that what you're doing matters, right? So NC State has drawn a great crowd. Carmichael, we've drawn a great crowd. It was a great crowd when we went to Louisville my first year, right? So it's a basketball community that there's so many women's teams now that are drawing people. And so the crowd will be a factor in that it brings a lot of enthusiasm, and that it also is they're rooting for one team, right? And so that team will feel that energy as well. Silencing a crowd is kind of what you want to do too. So yeah, it's just, I'm so glad to be playing in a game that's going to have so many people who have eyes on it.
Front row to the right. We're giving our mic holder a really good workout today.
Good.
Hi, Asher Bookspan with the Daily Wildcat. Obviously, Deja Kelly dropped 28 points, but you also have 4 other players in double digits. Do you think that there's kind of one X factor to this team, or that anyone can really step up in any given moment?
Yeah, I think if you're truly a team guy, then you're willing to do whatever the game calls for, right? And when I talked with Deja the day before yesterday's game, I made sure she understood that I don't know, will Arizona require that she scores 28 for us to win, or will it require her to be more of a facilitator and play through their aggressive defense to give other people more open looks? I don't know. I don't know how the game exactly is going to go. It's just having really good players willing to understand what their role needs to be as the moment calls for it, right? And so I'm grateful that we have such great versatility and speed across the roster, because, Toddy had 15, right? Eva was, wherever her stats weren't, she was, right? And Carly, our point guard, almost had a double-double, right? And so that's what that game called for. This will be a totally different game, maybe, or maybe it'll be the same. I don't know. But yeah, to have options in March is a beautiful thing.
A little more of like an X and O's question, but what are the keys that you're breaking down for your players to beating Arizona?
I think it's a short turnaround to play a really good team, right? I think there are some games where, and there are some times throughout the game where you kind of coaches have to play chess a little bit. This is not one of those games, right? This is one of those games where you're late in March, or you're late in your run, and there comes a time where you just got to play basketball. Right, and so how you come together to play basketball, it's that simple. They're up tempo, they're big, right? We also are up tempo, and we can move the ball a bit, really well. We've got more range from 3 at various spots, right? So we're different in certain ways, but I think we're probably more similar than we are different. In terms of, there comes a time where they're going to roll it out and we're going to roll it out, and it's going to be 2 really good teams that have to react to the ebb and flow of the game.
Awesome. And coming off of your win against SFA, obviously they're a team that emphasizes defensive pressure. So is Arizona. What are the takeaways that you have from Saturday's game that you're bringing into tomorrow's game?
Yeah, I think, knowing that we've been able to play against some pressure on this floor. We've been in this gym, we've shot in this gym, we've played against people that are wearing a different color than us in this gym. There's a comfort to that, right? And so although it's a true road game, it's at least we've been here before. We've been here for a while now. But yeah, so I think playing against a similar style of pressure is helpful in that way. If we were playing against a team that played only zone, and then we're going to play a team that plays only man, you're kind of like, eh. But you still at least have the comforts of the gym, and so they pressure a ton. They're a lot like, it was interesting because they said Georgia Tech, there's an innocence to these college kids. They don't really kind of track on all that's happening, right? They're not very similar to Georgia Tech. They're similar in that there's two tall people on the court at one time, right? Other than that, they both want to, Georgia Tech wants to score in the 50s, right? But that's really because their pace of play is slow. That's not Arizona. They're actually very different. If those of you are actually writing an article on this, it's more like Miami on the women's side. Miami's much more up tempo. They've got dynamic guards. They've got elite bigs, and they want to extend the court on both directions over 94 feet. And so there's their vision's one thing, and my vision's a different.
Other questions for Coach?
Yeah.
Front row.
Obviously, against a kind of smaller SFA team, you guys put up 38 rebounds. You've only put up 22 last night. How do you guys plan to continue to stay aggressive on the glass and fight for those rebounds against a slightly bigger team?
Yeah, I think we've out-rebounded all but one of our opponents. You guys will have the numbers more than me. But, we intend to out-rebound every team we play because you get a chance at on both sides of the ball. So position and pursuit on the defensive end, and pursuit on the offensive end is part of what we do. So we've been undersized all year long, and we've rebounded people all year long. We had 50 rebounds in multiple games. And so I have great respect for both Lauren Ware and for Reese, and the ones that come in behind her that are bigger than anybody on my roster, right? But there's a positioning and a pursuit that rebounding requires, and our kids have been pretty consistent at that. And it's an ultimate 50-50 ball, right? And so it dictates who gets the ball, right? And so a game like this, you want to try to have as many possessions as you can. So it's a very key stat, for sure.
Back row to the right.
Somebody asked this to the players just before, and I thought it was an interesting question, so I want to get your take on it. But the idea that winning this game and then you get to go and play in Greensboro again, sort of that is a motivating factor, if you could speak on that.
Yeah. I mean, obviously going back to Greensboro, where this has really become a team that so many people in our state has loved. They've really wrapped their arms around this team. And so for them to be able to come back and get to see their team more, if I had a penny for every text I've received about just please, we just want to see you guys play again this year, right, live. I think it means as much that we'd be giving that back to the fans that have infused so much energy in us, more so than the added motivation for me about where the games are played. It's my family will be here either way, my team will be here either way. So whatever that is great. But yeah, I think for our fans to be able to give them that would be extra special for sure.
Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to the
RL, hit me up, my man.
RL. Yes.
Hey, Courtney. Obviously, you played with a lot of smaller players, a lot of the game yesterday. But will you be able to do that against a taller lineup against Arizona, or will you need more from Anya, Ali, and Malou than you got yesterday?
We want to have everybody to help us out. I don't know the answer to that. We as you've seen us play all year, we have to adjust to what the game requires. And we've had some really elite bigs in our league. I think Alyssa Kitley is one of the best players in the country. Obviously, Kunane is one of the best players in the country, and Alyssa's guarded both of them just fine. And so hasn't Des, to be honest. And Des is, I think, even smaller. So I don't know. I mean, I think we need everybody willing to be whatever is needed to help us win this basketball game, just like we need them every time. And had you told me that Ali Z would play so well at home in front of her fans and play so much before the game, I probably wouldn't have believed you. But you just, that's what the game called for. So, if we have to go small, or if going small gives us an advantage, then we're going to do that.
And then Alyssa talked about playing the 5 and her confidence in matchups where she's given up height. How is she able to navigate that sort of matchup?
you know, there's a lot to be said for a kid who can move her feet in such an elite manner. She's an elite athlete because of the way she can move. You know, she's got great angles. She's really efficient with her footwork. She's got a high motor. She's really competitive. And so, you know, that kind of makes up for size. Of course, you're talking to a below average size basketball coach as well. So size is sort of lost on me. But yeah, I think there's where you get one thing, you have to give up something else, right? And you can't be slow and small. So she has chosen that she's going to be fast and small, you know, or you can, you know, just like you can't be big and useless, right? And so I think she's figured it out. And Anya's figured it out. Malou's figured it out. Z's figured it out, you know, at times throughout the year. So where we've been a little inconsistent, we've always found a way.
And I want to ask about the guard matchup. Obviously, you faced really good guard combinations in the ACC. But what are the special challenges of Pellington and Yaney will give you tomorrow?
You know, a similar challenge, honestly, that we've had all year. They're like 27 years old. They've been in this a long time. You know, they've played in national championship games. You know, there comes a level of confidence that comes with experience. They're elite athletically. They've got great physicality. You know, and they're playing in March and the urgency that athletes play with in March. And so, you know, as I've said, I think if you're looking for an easy matchup, then you're in the wrong tournament. You know, so you're not going to get it. You're not going to play a team in the round of 32 that has poor guard play. So whether it was we play Arizona's guards or Maryland's guards or Iowa's guards, or they got to play North Carolina's guards. You know, it's just good guards all over the country that are playing in March, and good bigs. You know, so yeah, this is not much different than what we were expecting this time of the year.
Thank you.
Of course.
Time for any follow-up questions in the room? Got one up front.
This is one that's been kind of asked to everyone
Okay.
since Yaney brought it up about switching to a different ball and how that can affect some shooting. Just
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on, you know, changing equipment like that and what it can do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not relied on to shoot anymore. I used to be, though, and the ball mattered when I was playing, but that was a long time ago. You know, we have, like most programs, we'll have a multitude of balls. We'll have some Adidas balls, and we'll have some Spalding balls on our rack, because if we're playing a team on the road that has those balls, so it obviously matters. Otherwise, you wouldn't do that. But at the same time, it's you know, it's kind of like you have two ways to handle it. You either handle it or you don't, right? And basketball, there's lots of different ways to put the ball in the basket. So if you're not shooting well from the perimeter, you should get to the rim. If you're not able to finish, you should shoot from the perimeter. So that's kind of on the players to have to figure out. And we've been here a while. You know, Arizona's allowed us to be here a day early and practice here with the balls and with the gym and stuff like that. So you'd have to ask the shooters on that. But I think it's also, if you're not shooting well, it's really awesome to say it was the ball, right? And I've been known to do that too.
Coach, thank you.
Of course.
We'll let you go.
Absolutely. Thanks, my man.
You
See you
bet.
tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll be here.
I'm guessing we'll meet again.
Yes, we sure will.